everyone, welcome to Narc Shield. My name is Jennifer. Thanks for being here. I hope you'll like, share, and subscribe to help my channel thrive, and also you will get alerts to when I post something new. So wearing the Panthers ball cap tonight because my hair is kind of crazy, but I wanted to get this video out for you guys, and it is to give you a few examples, and it's about a movie that I watched that Tyler Perry, I believe, I don't know if he wrote it, but I know that he directed it. It's a Tyler Perry movie anyway. So I apologize if I'm getting any of that wrong, but I do know it's a Tyler Perry movie, and it is called A Fall from Grace. And it was a really excellent movie. So if you have not seen the movie yet, you might want to put a pause on this, watch the movie, and come back just so you'll recognize the examples that I give. If you have watched the movie, then you may remember, and you might be able to recognize this in your life or someone else's, or when they try to describe it to you, you can believe them. So the movie has a character. Her name is Grace. I absolutely love her name, by the way. I think it's an absolutely beautiful name. And so her name was Grace, and I'm going to kind of make everything kind of compacted, okay? But she meets this guy, and it's kind of random. And he's very handsome, and he's very doting on her and gives her lots of attention. She's been in a relationship before that ended her marriage, and her ex-husband married the woman that he was cheating on her with. So she's had some abuse and she's not feeling all that great, or she hasn't for a really long time. So she's been talked into finally doing some things for herself. Her best friend, I forget what her name is, but I think it's Sarah. So she has talked her into doing some things for herself. So she's out and about, and she meets this really handsome man who's giving her lots of attention. And she's very cautious because she has been hurt before. So she is trying to take things very slow. She doesn't want to like invite him in her home. She doesn't want to be kissing on him and that kind of thing. But she does enjoy his company. So he's walking her home every day. Like every day he's wanting to spend time with her. So he's rushing right in, spending time with her. And this is what we call the golden period, which is what I say on this channel, or you may call it the idealization phase or the love bombing phase. Every day he's texting her, he's calling her, and he's, wanting to walk her home. And she is feeling like the apple of his eye. And she hasn't felt this way in a really long time. She's feeling quite special. It feels really good to her. And it's building her self-confidence, and she's very attracted to this man, but she's still being quite cautious, and she really does want to try and take it slow, but he is really doing a number on her, and she is falling for him. And he is noticing it, but he is trying everything. And she literally, after 3 months, she's got him in church with her. And one of the things that she says is, she's like, I can't believe I've got him in church. She's like, this is so not his thing, but he is so into me and trying so hard that he's actually at church with me. And you can tell that he's really not into the church thing, but he's totally there trying to win her heart. And finally, he's like, wow, nothing's really completely getting her, but I know she's into me, and I want to prove to her that I am a worthy man. So he, after a few months, asks her to marry him, and she is thrilled and says yes. They are soon married, very quickly married, and right after the I do's, all of a sudden she is starting to see some changes in him. And it's because he needed something from her, and so we'll get to that in a minute. But he was giving her the golden period, and now that he has won her, she has started into devaluation. So one night she gets up in the middle of the night, and he is on the phone with someone, and she's curious as to who he would be on the phone with so late at night. He doesn't bat an eye. He just continues to have this conversation, doesn't really pay any attention to her. And she says, who is that? And he continues to not really pay any attention to her and continues to finish out his conversation with the person he's on the phone with. And when he gets off the phone, he looks at her and he creates his boundary. And he says, there's 2 things I don't like. And one is, I don't know if I'm saying this exactly right or in the right order, but I don't like to be questioned ever. and I don't like to be checked up on, ever. And he's very firm with her. And she says, okay. She says, well, I just missed you. I woke up and you weren't in bed next to me and I missed you. And I mean, who wouldn't think that it might even be an emergency type thing when you come down? Like, what's going on? You know, you're on the phone. It's late. But, you know, there's no one in that. She could see that he was being very serious. And that was the first time she had ever felt his coldness and seen the true him. And this concerned her because it was right after she had said, I do. And then he just from there began to devalue her even more and let her know just how much he didn't think of her. And so I'll kind of skip ahead. She comes home one day. She can hear some laughter upstairs. She goes upstairs. Now, let me just say that when she was in the golden period with him, he wanted to know all kinds of things. He wanted to know everything about her. And one of the things that she had said to him was that she had just been hurt before, and that, you know, she had caught her husband cheating on her. She caught him sleeping with someone and she saw it, and it was very devastating for her. Now, narcissistic people, they love to get that information from you because when they do, they eventually will use it against you in some way. And there's different ways that they use it against you. But in this instance, this is where this particular narcissist used it against her to hurt her, devalue her, and make her feel worthless, and let him know that she meant nothing to him. She goes upstairs, and sure enough, she opens the door, and he's sleeping with a younger woman. And the girl yells out, oh my gosh, I didn't know you brought me to your mother's house, something along those lines. Not only was she triangulated with another woman to make her upset, she was devalued, and he used something that she said, a vulnerability earlier in their relationship, to hurt her. He literally basically pushes her out of the room and continues to have sex with this woman. She's devastated. She goes downstairs. He was a younger man, but it wasn't like she looked old or anything like that. It wasn't too, well, maybe it was far-fetched. I don't really know how much the age difference was. But the fact that the other girl said that, but the other girl didn't know. So she was just being triangulated. He didn't care about the other girl. It wasn't about caring about her. It was about doing something to devalue the person that he wanted to devalue. And that at this time was his wife. So he comes downstairs with the girl and proceeds, she says, well, when am I going to see you again? Or am I going to see you again? And he proceeds to, and the woman who owns the house, who he is married, is sitting in the dining room or something, very devastated. She's not throwing a fit right then, which surprised me, but she wasn't. And a lot of women would be, right? So she's in there upset. The lady leaves, and he basically laughs at her. He mocks her by laughing at her pain. He doesn't care about her at all, and he's letting her know, I can do what I want to do. This is my house now, and I'll do whatever I please, whenever I please, and you can say nothing about it. And so she says to him, you know, you need to get out, and, you know, I'm not sure if she had already caught him doing some things, but I don't know if she did at that point. But I'll get to some other things where she was being devalued as well. And she does speak her mind to him, but he basically lets her know he doesn't give a crap about what she says. They're married now, and he can do whatever he wants. She went to work, and she was working, and she was getting some really weird looks from people that were in her office. And then she was called into an emergency meeting. And this is where somewhat the smear campaign goes on. Is to make her look bad anyway. So basically, she's fired. There's no real, let's talk about this or whatever. She's fired, and she's like, I don't understand. And they basically tell her that she's stolen money from the company, and she's been with this company for a really long time. So she's surprised that they would treat her this way. And she doesn't understand who would be doing this to her. And she goes and she's talking to her best friend about it, Sarah. And then the husband, she's trying to call the husband. Finally, he walks in the door, and she's like, where have you been? I've been trying to call you. I've been fired from my job. Somebody's been stealing money. And he's like, what? You know, I can't believe this. And basically, she is saying, you know, I could go to prison for this. It was a lot of money. And her house was she didn't know about that yet. So, well, let's just go ahead and say this. Her house, somebody had put out a mortgage on her house as well. Eventually, she says to him, you did this, because she's being devalued. She finds out because, you know, and then the whole girl thing and all this. And her best friend is acting like the best friend and being all calm, cool, and collected. And when this guy starts to devalue her more and more and more, she's being so beaten down that eventually she does do a reactive abuse, which to the extreme, by the way, I'm just going to say, because I was even kind of floored by this, but she literally, he just kept saying, he was laughing at her, mocking her, saying all these horrible things to her to make her feel like she was the most grossest thing and piece of dirt thing that could ever possibly happen to him. And here she had he had stolen all her everything that she's ever worked so hard for. Her house was paid off and now it has this huge mortgage on it. He's made her lose her job. All her credibility in the community is gone. It's unbelievable how in such a quick amount of time behind the scenes, he's been working to just basically destroy everything she's ever worked hard for. And I mean, this was a really nice woman. She had done so many wonderful things in the community, and she's not looking so much like this anymore. And so as he's laughing at her and going on and on and on and devaluing her over and over and over, something in her snapped. So basically, let's go to, you know, you see this on the show Snapped. She grabs a baseball bat and she hits him in the head. And I mean, she starts hitting him in the head. It's pretty gross. She thinks she kills him. Then she just takes off and she calls her best friend. She tells her best friend about it. Her best friend goes to the house. She's in court. She's getting ready to go to prison basically for killing someone because they're saying they didn't know any of this other stuff. And it looks like she has stolen and she's this bad person and that she was just pretending to be a good person. So they've switched all the traits onto her. This is in her devaluation and they don't care if she goes to prison. So so she has her best friend there. Her best friend is acting like her best friend, is there in the court, but basically throws her to the wolves in the end and says, I'm so sorry. When really she was the mastermind and she was a flying monkey along with her son. It was her son who married her best friend. She had masterminded this for years and they basically were people that stole and they played pillars in the community. And they played that they took care of elderly. She was not an elderly woman, but they played that they took care of the elderly, or she did, in the community, when really what she was doing was she was kidnapping elderly people, holding them hostage into her basement, and she was taking their checks. So here we go with financial abuse. So we have some financial abuse up in this too. I'm not going to go into too much detail there, so you can see that part when you watch the movie. It was devastating when I saw that. But basically her best friend was getting information from the husband so that she, which is triangulation as well, so she did the triangulation, he was doing the triangulating, and they both were taking advantage of Grace, and Grace almost went to prison, but it comes out in the end what all was going on, and basically in the end she was the one who was able to disengage with these people and they got in trouble, or the discard. She was able to do that. And she didn't have to go to prison. Her name, you know, was brought back into good standing. But these people almost got away with it. I mean, she was all in the courtroom going to prison for supposedly killing the son. They didn't have a body, but the mother had gone in and gotten him, and he was actually stored away, you know, at home and just not making any appearances. So they were basically saying she had killed him because there was so much blood and they couldn't find the body. And she thought that she had killed him and had told her best friend, I killed him. She thought that she did. She thought he was dead. Bottom line, this woman was taken advantage of by a narcissist. This woman was a narcissist and her son was, she raised a narcissist. obviously a sociopathic type person as well, but they went in and they had planned. This is what you would call a malignant narcissist, somebody who can plan these things and wait and be patient about each and every step that happens along the way. They need to be patient. They know what the payoff is, and they do exactly what they need to do to get there. And in the process, they know that it's a slow process to beat you down and make other people believe certain things that they need people to believe, and then they need people to see them as good, and really they're the bad people. It's so hard because it makes you wonder, like, who can you trust? And that is why I always say now that you need to take your time. And one of the biggest red flags that you can find in a narcissistic relationship is if they are pushing you to rush that relationship. So if they're rushing you to get married, they're rushing to say I love you within 2 dates or so. I mean, I'm talking rushing. It takes time to get to know someone, and I know it feels really good in the golden period. It is fantastic. That feeling is so euphoric, magical. It just feels fantastic, and it does to the narcissist too in that moment, in those moments, because they're being idealized and you're just adoring them. So it doesn't matter who it is. It can be a girl, a guy, or a woman, man. It doesn't matter. But if they're pushing it and rushing it along, that's a red flag, and you need to pull back and you need to question, why are they rushing everything? I mean, why? What is the rush? Yeah, it feels good, but why do you need to rush to get married? Why do you need to rush to move in with someone? Why is there a rush? What is it that they need from you? In this instance, they were using her for her money. And when she saw that it was her best friend, years this woman was her best friend, when she saw her best friend betrayed her the way she did, and that this man was able to trick her the way that she did, and this was a very smart woman, it makes you feel stupid, but you're not. You were conned, and anybody can be conned, and a lot of people say that they can't, but narcissists are very good at playing like they're a good person. So the woman who was her best friend was someone who went to church with her, someone who took care of the elderly, someone who was trustworthy and had always been with her for years, never did anything that she could see. They were the bestest of friends, would do anything for her, was always there for her, even played that in front of the son. I won't get into that because it takes too long and this makes the videos too long. But basically for years played the role. But when the time came that she could send her son out and triangulate her son with this woman to carry out her plan, because she found out so much by being the best friend. She found out that this woman had a wonderful home that she didn't owe any money on. And so these people knew that they could take out a mortgage on it, and basically a full mortgage, because it was a lot of money that they took out on this house. And they found out what kind of job that she had, and that it was in a bank, and with all her passwords and all these things, if they got them, that they would be able to steal all kinds of money from the bank. And that's exactly what they did. So they didn't care about her. Neither one of them ever cared about her. As the best friend had been planning this for so long. The son went along with it because he's been doing this with his mother and his entire life. She's a narcissist. She's raised him to also be a narcissist. They were very self-entitled people, and they believed that they deserved this. They had no empathy for any of the victims, including the older elderly people, and it was a lot of them that were that they were taking the money for years and holding hostage in their home, and no one knew where they were. No one knew anything. It was horrible. So they came in, they're looking for people that are vulnerable and that will buy into their lies and deception. It's really sad, and it does make it hard to trust people. But if you just hold back and really take time, and I don't mean a month, 2 months, 3 months, I'm talking 6 months to a year. You really need to take your time. And this particular movie, I mean, this lady was her friend for years and years. And I can honestly say that you can be friends for years and years and years with someone, and they can betray you at some point. And I'll get into that in another video. But I wanted to make sure to use this as an example. It's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, it's quite disturbing and can be triggering, but it will definitely show you the golden period, and it will show you the devaluation and somewhat the discard. She's the one who ends up basically, in my opinion, doing the discard. But you definitely see how that golden period works and how magical it is and how quickly it can turn. And that's what I wanted to show you or talk to you about in this video. I do like to give examples, so I hope this helps. Please like, share, and subscribe. I really would like my channel to thrive, so if it helps you or you know that it might help someone else, because we do continue to chase that golden period. Once we start getting devalued, we only want so much to get the golden period back. We work so hard and we want to do anything to make them happy, and we're not quite sure what it is. And we don't know what went wrong. We don't understand, and we feel horrible. And so we want to feel good again. And we really do chase that golden period. And they're actually banking on you doing that. So maybe if you see it in some examples, you will be able to understand a little bit better. I hope this channel helps you. My heart does go out to you, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.